What's better than one deity from Alola in Fantasy Cup? Well, that's pretty obvious. Two of those deities, because today we're gonna dive with two Tapu in one single backline with a team that started like a fun spicy one but ended up going pretty rough against my opponents and almost made a 10-0 in the process. So right here we're just gonna focus on the first battle and we're gonna see Tapu Fini going in pretty clutch. So at the back we also have Tapu Koko, who is a familiar face because of Coco Chanel. Yeah, I have no other nickname for this Pokemon. But anyways, I'm just gonna complete the farm down here against the Scizor, and with Water Guns able to do a lot of work against my opponent, because at the back they also have Empoleon, which still is gonna take a nice amount of damage with my Moonblast. So you can see here that we have the shield advantage, they have a water type Pokemon, and here is where Tapu Koko can really excel against water types and of course the dragons. So they're having of course Dragonite, but I decide to go in there with my Excadrill because I want to do as much damage as possible to that Pokemon while still gonna bring them to no HP with my moves. I also know that they might just farm me down here, but I do not care at all. I know that I can still reach to the next move pretty easily, while I can resist pretty much anything that this Dragonite has to offer. So Empoleon returns, we have one Thunderbolt, they know that and they will back out. Into the next one now, and we're having a Shadow Granbull up in front, followed up by a switch to a Lucario. So Lucario and the Scavalier can always be used as a solid backline as well, double counter, which can be pretty rough for a lot of teams. But for my team, I'm having Double Fairy at the back. So Granbull up in front, you're seeing here that this Lucario stands no chance at all, even with a Shadow Ball against my Pokemon, and there is not gonna be a double counter at the back with a Scavalier, but instead one Pokemon that is pretty familiar from the previous battle, and that is Empoleon. So Empoleon is pretty tricky for a lot of teams, and that's because of how safe it can be with its moveset and its typing of course. So right here I'm just gonna block twice and then try to completely farm down with my Volt switches. So Granbull returns, but at this point we have to switch out into our Excadrill. We can take advantage of the energy gain from both ends, and I think that we can go ahead and spam those drill runs much better than they can do. So at this point we are also kinda lucky because they can reach to the crunch on the CMP, which means that we're gonna fire off first, gonna spend both of them shields, and right after one Thunderbolt will most likely seal the deal up against them, and against Empoleon of course we can easily farm down with our Tapu Koko. Into the next one now with a Tapu Fini on the lead. Horrible lead scenario, we need to get out of there as soon as possible to our safe switch Tapu Fini. So for the previous video, yesterday's video, you saw that we had Tapu Fini as a closer, but for this team, in order to succeed, we need to use Tapu Fini as a safe switch and bring our Tapu Koko as the closer. This is pretty crucial for this team. So because we're coming out of the switch, we are one turn behind on the damaging moves, the water guns, so we're just gonna go down, but it doesn't matter because right here we can farm down some crucial energy. We're met up with a Scavalier on the next matchup, and this is pretty good for us because we can do a lot of damage with a simple drill run, and at the back they have the Dragonite. So our Tapu Koko here is just gonna dominate this matchup. We can survive pretty much whatever they throw, and those Dragon Breaths will never do enough work against our glassy Pokemon. Still Thunderbolt can work here pretty nicely towards our end, and I am realizing a win condition because all we have to do is to double block and completely farm down right after with those Volt switches and our Tapu Koko. Into the next one now, trainers with a Giratina up in front. So this is kind of a tricky lead because Giratina on its origin form can always do a lot of solid work against a lot of its counters, and yeah, this team is also gonna lose straight and square to this Pokemon. However, we still have some heavy hitting moves, and if we can block correctly those Shadow Balls, we might have the upper hand eventually. So Drillon here most likely is gonna take a shield out of them, and right after I will try to overfarm a little bit more than usual before throwing, because I know that even if we get to the CMP, we're just gonna be just fine winning that CMP, and of course since they have the shield up, we're gonna just pressure for it. So right after we're gonna see an Alola Sandslash coming in pretty clutch against our team, and because this is a drill run version of Sandslash, I obviously cannot switch out because otherwise I will be kinda in a tough position with my Tapu Koko against this Pokemon. So with Sandslash over here, I'm just gonna pressure even more with my serves and try to do some cheap damage on that Pokemon relying on their final Pokemon to be kinda weak to my Tapu Koko. So here comes out the Drill Run, and right after we can pressure even more for the next charge attack. Doing so, I'm pretty sure we can farm down here with our Volt Switches, but at the back they have a Weezing, and this is kinda unfortunate because we cannot do a lot of work against them, and yeah, they're gonna get to that overhit anyways. Even a Thunderbolt could not knock out at this range, so we're just gonna go down to those double back-to-back charge attacks, and that's gonna be a great game for my opponent. So a very bad lead as well against this Escavalier, and we're just gonna switch out to our safe switch Tapu Fini, where we are met up with another bug steal. Perhaps they have a triple bug steal with Genesect as well at the back, or just triple steal. I don't know what is happening, because not a lot of fire types will exist in the meta, and the most viable fire type is a pseudo one on the face of Solgaleo. Anyways, enough about that, let's see what we have here, because Surf is gonna take both of them shields out of play, and you know what, since they want to throw here, I'm just fine with this, since now I can go in with my Excadrill, have two shields against them. I know I can survive one move in the process as well, since they have no boosts at all, and now with the Escavalier returning, I'm just gonna go here for the Drill Run and then switch out to Tapu Koko, because with a shield up we can definitely complete the farm down against this Pokemon. They're gonna go here with the Drill Run, no acid spray like before, and of course they will back out, because with energy and the shield advantage, this Pokemon is deadly to whatever remains at the back. I can only speculate that it is gonna be another steel type or a dragon, so yeah, we could have the upper hand anyways. So over here with the Escavalier, Excadrill up in front against the Giratina, this is always pretty tricky as well, since we need to go ahead and pressure for that shield, but we cannot do that pretty early. And right after, I'm just gonna switch out to Tapu Fini, but they had so much energy and I had to respect the damage from a potential Shadow Force. Of course it was not a Shadow Force, but that's another story for another video, and we're just gonna focus here to the knockout with our own Tapu Fini. So my Tapu Fini here is just gonna get the upper hand against their own, since we have a lot of energy to spare, and as it seems they have lost track of energy because they're throwing the Surf, or they just didn't want to get hit by a Surf. I don't know, I'm just fine with this, since now Giratina is out of the way. Tapu Fini is just gonna do a lot of solid damage to my Pokemon, and as it seems here I can easily go in with my Excadrill, start doing some pressure with my Drill Runs. First of all, they're gonna get to the Crunch, which is a pretty nice call, to be honest. I was expecting the Psychic Fangs and then the Crunch, but they decided to go straight for it, and right here I have to respect the damage even from a move like Psychic Fangs, because I have to go ahead and pressure with one Drill Run for the knockout against Steelix, and one more for the Tapu Fini. However, in the mid-term they're having a shield, so now I'm gonna switch to my Tapu Koko, but unfortunately I cannot press the move. So down I go now to the Water Guns, and that is a kind of weird loss, because we could have easily won this if I just didn't switch at all and just waited for my Excadrill to faint. But yeah, my opponent saw the mistake, took advantage of it, and absolutely destroyed me down there on the end. But totally winnable from my end with Tapu Koko, because yeah, we could easily win that CMP, I guess. So anyways, Dragonite now against my Tapu Fini on the switch. I'm pretty comfortably here, over farming a lot, but I do not want to over farm that much and get in a risky situation. I still know that the elite Pokemon cannot farm me down with this, so Moonblast here is just gonna do a lot of damage on that Dragonite, and right after I will respond with the Surf, which is gonna do a lot of damage as well on that Glassy Magnezone. So we're having the upper hand anyways with our Excadrill. I'm just fine with this, and of course with the Wild Charge here we can have a very good battle overall. So at the back they have a Sylveon, and all I have to do is to pressure for the shield, and as soon as we can do that, we can switch out to our Tapu Koko. So they spent the shield pretty early, and now my Dazzling Gleam will be more than enough to do a lot of damage to that Sylveon, and I said more than enough because I thought for a moment that I could knock it out, but as it seems I cannot. But anyways, we're gonna take this victory because only Magnezone remains at the back, and since we have the shields up, we're just gonna win this battle anyways. So that is gonna be all for today, trainers. Thank you for watching and for staying till the end. Just be sure to leave a huge like before you go, and of course consider subscribing to my channel if you want to see more of my content here on YouTube. And speaking of my content, I have 2 videos for you to check out, so feel free to do so, and I will see you all into the next one.